Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be going over the Lance, the Spire of Honor. I have the regular version, and I also have the ethereal version here. And I also have a special guest today who's going to be saying hello to everybody. We lost our dogs a while ago. Both of them had just reached an age where it was untenable. And ever since we lost the dogs, we wanted to get another one. And you know, we didn't want to just go to a store and buy one, so we waited for a chance to adopt one. And we have this behemoth monster. Him's name is he's just a little puppy too. Him's name is Sir Brandon. You want to say hello to everybody, Sir Brandon? The camera's over there. That's right. Say hello, Sir Brandon. He's a good boy. He's got a little tuxedo on. He's mostly black, and he's got little, look at his big giant paws. Look at them big paws. Them things are monsters. Them's some monster paws. Everybody thinks you're very cute, Mr. Brandon. Oh, they think you're very cute. We just gave him a bath too. So we just gave him a bath too. So he's a little wet. Brandon. Oh no, he's too big to sit in my lap, Mr. Brandon. Don't worry, I'll be telling you all about his farts. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Spire of Honor Lance. Ooh, Mr. Brandon's hefty. Give me cramp in my chest. So the Spire of Honor Lance is a rather interesting lance since it seems to be pointed at paladins. Normally, in Diablo, you have a lot of items in the game that are pointed at paladins, but they're usually shields or one-handed items because, of course, the main benefit of a paladin, above everything else, is, of course, his shield, right? So the idea of utilizing a item that is not going to allow you to use a shield is very odd. However, when you look at the weapon, it definitely does have +3 to combat skills for paladin only. So it's something that we're going to take a look at, and we're going to kind of explore. So right off the bat, you'll notice that it has a rather large amount of damage of 101 to 382, which is rather high for the level requirement of 39. It does have a dexterity requirement of 88 and a strength requirement of 110, and both of those are relatively high for level 39. It's definitely going to take some serious point investment to be able to reach both of those levels around that particular time frame. We also have a relatively slow attack speed on this thing, very slow attack speed, in fact. And because it is such a slow weapon, it is generally not used for things like Zeal, obviously, but could be very, very effective for something like Charge. We have 20% faster hit recovery on this, which is, of course, amazing, especially considering we're giving up our shield slot for this. Having faster hit recovery on our weapon is a big deal. It's definitely going to make a huge difference in our survivability as we're charging around on our paladin. We also have a 200% enhanced damage on this, which does vary from 150 to 200%, and it's a pretty massive variation. Especially considering how much damage this does. So if you were planning on upgrading this, I would recommend that you find one at a higher percentage, just simply because it is such a high damage weapon that small percentage makes a much bigger difference than you think. On-weapon ED is much more potent than off-weapon ED, for instance. That 50% enhanced damage is probably more than Fortitude gives you, if that tells you anything. It also has adds 20 to 40 damage on here, which is basically just a flat addition to the weapon. It is not affected by the enhanced damage, but it is actually very nice to have because it's a pretty huge bonus in damage because it's actually at like the base of the weapon's damage, which is very, very nice. We also have 25% bonus to attack rating, and 25% bonus to attack rating is actually a lot, but it's not a raw number. And you're going to need raw numbers to boost that up. If you guys are unaware how attack rating works, is that a lot of skills have a very high attack rating bonus, but a lot of items don't have raw attack rating on them. And so you might end up with 1,000 or even 1,500% attack rating bonus, but if you don't have the raw numbers for that percentage to boost up, it can be relatively useless. So having the percent bonus on here is nice, but you also need raw attack rating to go along with it. We also have 148% damage to demons, and this is based on character level. So it's going to be 1.5 per character level, up to 148% at level 99. Now, this is actually a really awesome ability, but it does not function as on-weapon ED. And I noticed that as I go over a lot of these items, they seem to have kind of used demon damage to kind of replace enhanced damage, and it doesn't really work the same. Like 200% enhanced damage on a weapon is far more effective than even 800% off-weapon enhanced damage. And you really have to understand that 148% enhanced damage to demons is nowhere near as valuable as the 200% that's on the item. We also have a 25% enhanced defense on here, which again, it seems like they're trying to make up for the fact that the Paladin doesn't have a shield. And that's a good thing, because the 20% faster hit recovery along with the 25% enhanced defense are going to help a little bit to counter the loss of the shield. We also have Replenish Life plus 20 on here, which is static and is a pretty massive regeneration bonus at level 39. It's not going to be a massive regeneration bonus at level 99 or anything, but at level 39, when you put this on, it's a pretty nice bonus. Now, to show you the defense bonus, let's go ahead and pull up our character panel here. You notice we have, let's take this off first. We have 1,855, and when we put on Spire of Honor, we go to 2,318. And our attack rating also goes up from 1,060 to 1,325, which is a pretty nice bonus. 25% bonus to attack rating and the 25% bonus to enhanced defense. Now, the big downside to this is, unfortunately, that without a shield, you won't be able to use Holy Shield, and you won't be able to get the massive defense bonus there. So having that extra defense on here is actually a pretty big boon, and I'm glad that it is there. I actually kind of wish that it was a little bit more than 25%. Now, the ethereal version, of course, is a little bit better in the damage category, but it is 140 to 553 damage, a little bit more. It has 78 dexterity and 100 strength requirement, which is -10 on both requirements because it is ethereal. We have the same level 39 requirement here, and it is important to note that the Spire of Honor, or rather lances in general, tend to have very poor durability. And I've never really quite understood, but they just have really, really bad durability. To give you an example, here is the Heaven's Light Mighty Scepter with durability of 50. Here is a Ginther's Rift Phase Blade. Or sorry, that's been upgraded. This is a Scissors Suaya with 68 durability. We also have a, sure, I got some other weapons in here. Shershrill Frost has 60 durability. The Gladius has 24. Might even have a little bit of a buff to its durability, though. The basically most items, like this is Bone Snap Maul, which has 60 durability. Flame Bellow has 50. Most weapons tend to have much higher durability than that, and it will break a lot. I've played with lances on quite a few different characters, including Amazons, and I have noticed that lances just tend to break a lot and very easily, and you end up running back to town all the time. And I feel like I really need to point that out because, this is obviously a lance with relatively low durability. I also missed out on the +3 light radius, so I forgot about that, guys. It's very important. We also get a +3 light radius on here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to upgrade this. So the Spire of Honor Lance is actually a, if I remember correctly, it's the exceptional version? Or am I wrong on that? No, yeah, it's the exceptional version. All right, so this is only going to be able to upgrade one time from the Lance to the Warpike, if I remember correctly. So we're going to need a Pull Rune, we're going to need a Perfect Emerald, and we're going to need a Lum Rune. And this is going to upgrade us from Tier 2 to Tier 3. And this actually does have some rather interesting upgradability because it does have a rather high amount of enhanced damage, and the ethereal version is pretty high. So we're going to play around with this real quick. So 101, 382. You know what? Let me move myself out of the way so that I'm not in the way here. So 101, 382, 88 dexterity, 110 strength, level 39. to 119 to 574, 106 dexterity, 165 strength. It's pretty high on the strength, and level 73. Now, I do believe that if you were going to upgrade this, you would probably go with the ethereal version. So let's take a look at the ethereal version, shall we? So 140 to 553, 78 dexterity, 100 strength, level 39. To 167 to 841, 96 dexterity, 155, 73. So what we have here is we have a relatively high damage weapon. It is also extremely slow. And what do you do with high damage weapons that are extremely slow? Well, you use them with abilities that will dish out massive amounts of damage, so you only have to hit one time. Charge on a Paladin is a prime example of this, that you can literally just, hit one time for a massive, massive amount of damage. And I feel like we would be doing this item a dishonor if we didn't at least go and play with the massive amount of damage that it can put out. And to do this, we're going to need a Zod Rune. Dishonor. It is, of course, the Spire of Honor, so we would be very dishonorable indeed. I've always thought it was really cool the way the Paladin holds the spear, too. It always kind of stood out at me as a really cool thing. Alright, so we're going to reset this character, and we're going to make sure he's got the appropriate stats, of course, to use the Spire of Honor. And then we're going to give him a whole bunch of vitality to make up for the rest. Alright, and we're going to give him a kind of a pseudo build. Basically, he's going to be a charge paladin, so we're going to have to max out charge, of course. We also want to max out might and vigor. So might and vigor. Bink, bink, bink. Alright, so we've got our maximum smite charge here, which is 1,575 damage. So we've got damage potential of 16k per charge. So we'll have to play around with that and see how that works. And what else can we add to this build? Obviously, we want an aura. Might is not really the appropriate aura for something like this. Fanaticism might be okay, but I'm actually thinking concentration, and the reason why I'm thinking concentration is because it's a bigger bump in damage, and it also gives us the chance to be uninterruptible, so we have a chance that we will not be interrupted while we are charging, and I think that might be the better choice there. And then, of course, we could go with something else to go along with this. Not really sure exactly what, though. I mean, if we just wanted to be tanky, we could go ahead and put in 4 points in each one of these to get the passive bump in regeneration. It's 2 per, by the way. So we got 7 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Still got 1 point left. We could throw into something, I suppose. 1 point in fanaticism doesn't ever hurt. All right. As you can see, this spear actually works very well with a charge build. It's the entire purpose of this spear, after all, is to be a charge paladin. And I see I've gotten myself stuck here, haven't I? Never really quite liked how you kind of had to charge away and charge back to really get the full effect. I feel like this would always also work very well with a knockback setup, specifically because, of course, every time you knock back the target, you have to charge back to the target. I'm trying to think if I have anything just kind of like sitting around that I could add onto here for some knockback. I mean, of course, Nephrin, but I've already socketed it, which doesn't really help much. Cleglaws could work. I could see if I could grab some Cleglaws from somewhere. There's a couple different options that you can do. You can also do Bone Visage. The giant skull Bone Visage has knockback on it. There's a lot of interesting items that that could potentially be used here to give you the knockback effect. Let me pause this real quick. I'm gonna go grab it, and then we're gonna play around with that real quick. All Alright, here we go. So I got myself the Giant Skull Bone Visage. Could actually work quite well on this build. I don't really know what I could put in there to make this any better, but I'm not sure if I even have the proper runes anyway. I can always take a look real quick, though. Doesn't hurt to take a look. Enhance the defense on the armor. Heh. Zod runes. 20% bonus to attack rating from the Gull rune. What is my chance to hit an enslaved? 4,911. Could, of course, be much higher. But, of course, you know, the crushing blow on the helmet is going to be nice, too. So let's play around with this, shall we? Let's go see how the knockback works with this. Definitely a very fun, just running around, charging around, murdering everything build. Most of the things I'm charging are dying in one charge anyway. It's not like it really matters. When the knockback does proc, though, I can get 2 charges off in quick succession. It definitely does work very well with a knockback character. I'm actually kind of enjoying that whole, like, spamming knockback on something. Now, of course, you could beef this up much higher than I have it. You could be wearing maybe like a Fortitude to give yourself some more defense, as well as some more off-weapon ED. You could also be utilizing maybe some gems or something, or jewels inside the helmet. I was actually thinking that 40% enhanced damage jewels in the helmet could probably offer a pretty substantial boost. 40% enhanced damage jewels are not ridiculously hard to come by, but obviously the 1540s are. Obviously there's some defensive concerns here because, of course, I have no shield, and my defense isn't quite really there. I've got 2,378, so definitely very low on the defense with this particular weapon. Like I said, I kind of wish this spear had a little bit more bonus defense on it than just the 25%, because it's really not enough for hell difficulty. It's a very interesting weapon, that's for sure. So, without going into anything else, let's take a look and see where we could potentially find this item. So if you were trying to find yourself a Spire of Honor, where would you potentially find yourself a Spire of Honor? Assuming, of course, the level of this thing being level 39, you would probably try to find this in Nightmare difficulty, which is probably about right. Maybe like a little bit into Nightmare difficulty, because it does seem to be toward the end of normal and the beginning of Nightmare. So let's take a look and use that as our kind of our logic, right? So so let's assume we have, I don't know, 150% magic find. I feel like that's fair. By the time you hit Nightmare difficulty, 150% magic find is fair. Let's look at bosses and sort by probability. And so we've got here Diablo in Nightmare, which might be a little bit too late. Mephisto in Nightmare, which could be close to when you'd actually want to use this. But really, ideally, we would be trying to find somebody in Act 1 that we could potentially farm. And it does not look like Nightmare and Doriel can drop this, which is sad. I'm not seeing a lot of targets here. Griswold has a pretty crappy chance at 1 in 13,239. But that's actually, no, that's hell difficulty. Never mind. I mean, Duriel in Nightmare can drop it, but he is a straight up troll. Most of the time, he'll just troll you. Let's check super uniques, and let's see what we've got with super uniques. And you know what? Let's sort specifically by Nightmare. Bink. And we've got here Radament in Nightmare. Sewer's level 3. Apparently has a pretty good chance to drop it. You can't really farm him reliably because he is on level 3, and you can only go to level 2 by the waypoint. But that is a potentially better source than going all the way to hell difficulty, or sorry, hell. Killing Diablo and Bale and stuff like that for it. Eldritch can drop it in Act 5, but by then you're probably a much higher level and you might not necessarily need it anymore. Trying to see if I can find anybody who's in a lower level zone. So Dark Elder and Beetle Burst in Act 2 are both relatively easy to find. Dark Elder is usually by the Lost City waypoint, or sorry, Lost City Ancient Tunnels entrance, and Beetle Burst is usually kind of like all over the place. He's a little bit difficult to find, but he's always in Far Oasis, so you just kind of teleport around until you find him. Those two are relatively low area, so you got Act 2. Lost City and Far Oasis are really easy to get to. That's still toward the beginning of Nightmare difficulty, so it's the weapon could still potentially be good for you. Other than that, I'm not seeing a lot of targets that are lower level monsters that could potentially be farmed here. I mean, Fangskin has a pretty good chance to drop it, but Fangskin, of course, is also Claw Viper Temple level 2, which is hard to farm. Pindleskin in Nightmare difficulty, but of course that's the end of Nightmare when you are, obviously, probably wouldn't want this spear anymore. If you did find an ethereal one, though, you could upgrade it and just simply use it as a merc weapon for a while. It would hit pretty hard. Cow King in Nightmare isn't a terrible option for a low-level farm, specifically because you can actually farm him if you have somebody else open the portal. So if somebody else will open the Cow King portal for you, you can actually farm him without leaving Act 1, and that could be an interesting choice if you wanted to try and farm it in Act 1 Nightmare difficulty. All in all, not really a lot of good choices here for this. Usually I can at least find something and go, hey, that's the one you want. But this time, there's really not a lot of Act 1 monsters that are good to farm on this. And even the Act 2 monsters, there's not really that many of them, or they're in very odd places that are not really that great to farm. So this particular item could potentially be useful for a lot of characters, and I do feel like it needs to be pointed out that as a merc weapon, it actually probably hits pretty hard. You do normally want faster weapons on a mercenary, but you can compensate by simply socketing it, putting a shale in it. You could put treachery on him instead of fortitude. Treachery is much cheaper to make anyway. You could put a helmet on him, which has increased attack speed. I would usually just recommend putting some nice helmet on him with a socketed 15% IAS jewel. And with a little bit of assistance, the high damage of this weapon can be augmented to, of course, make your mercenary a little bit tankier. The defense bonus, the attack rating bonus, the faster hit recovery on this, all of which make relatively good stats for an Act 2 merc. And the Replenish Life, unfortunately, I don't think works on mercenaries. I remember looking this up one time before, and mercenaries apparently have neutral regeneration, which is probably why they die to poison all the time, just simply because they have absolutely no regeneration at all. And so it's just a constant downward struggle, whereas normally on a player, if you get poisoned, yeah, it goes down a little bit, but then when you're no longer poisoned, it regenerates back up, and so forth and so on, and it kind of just it's like a battle on a player, whereas on the NPC, if they have no regeneration, whatever. I think they should probably fix that and add regeneration for the player characters. All in all, I do think it's a really cool item. I do think it kind of wears off too quickly, though. If you were specifically going to be building a charge paladin around this, you would definitely want it at level 39 when it becomes available. But the chances of you getting it at level 39 when it becomes available is not so great because there's not a lot of good choices of characters to farm for it. It definitely does not work with slow abilities. So, like, for instance, if you were to use this with Zeal or Vengeance, you would have a really poor time. You could potentially use this on a Spear Barbarian as well if you wanted to as a stopgap. It would also work fairly well on a Spear Amazon if you just happen to find it. So maybe you're building a Fend Amazon or an Impale Amazon. It could work fairly well on those for a little while until you've managed to get yourself something better. I don't think it would make a particularly good iron golem, but maybe. I mean, it does have a relatively high amount of defensive capability for a weapon and a relatively high amount of damage for a weapon, and it could potentially make a really nice iron golem just simply from the perspective of hitting really hard. But I would probably also gain the slow attack speed as well. I'm not sure on that one. Spire of Honor, ladies and gentlemen. Zotted, ethereal, upgraded Spire of Honor at that. I can't help but wonder, though, if a Breath of the Dying would be a better choice for a charge paladin. Especially considering that to do the F version of this, you have to use a Zod, and the Zod could potentially just simply be used in an ethereal Warpike for a Breath of the Dying. I mean, it does have +3 combat skills on it, which of course is pointed more directly at a paladin. And don't get me wrong, those +3 combat skills are actually really sweet. Let's see what this spear looks like on the menu, shall we? It always looks so boss when they're carrying a spear. Alright, guys and gals, I do appreciate you watching my episode on Spire of Honor. And put some nice comments down below for Sir Brandon, the dog. The Sir Brandon, the Labrador. And as always, thanks for watching. And keep watching.